Hey there, it's Saturday morning. It's 10:15 a.m. It is July 27th, Saturday morning, and I'm just kind of shuffling about, getting things done, cleaning up my room a little bit. And, I'm just trying to create some space to where I can like focus. I don't like a lot of clutter, so certain things have to be tossed away. You know how the weekend goes. So I wanted to come in here and make this video because I was thinking a lot about, the video that I posted yesterday, which was Soul Traveler. And, I feel as though I've known, or I came to understand a little bit more than I really wanted to know in this situation. Okay, like, it all started off with me being mobbed at the job, me wanting to figure out who was all behind it, and then, like I said, I will drill something down, and I drilled it down to, all this cloning business and everything. So I feel mentally burned out. You would think that a person would want to keep digging more and more and more and more, because I would say that it is an interesting discovery. Okay. But when you start looking at all the key figures that were involved in this, all I do is feel really negative about, people in general, the mindset, the harassment, the mistreatment of my father. I don't see anything good about this other than me finding out who I am and the kind of makeup that I'm made of. You know what I mean? It makes me feel like very sad and disgusted, mainly because, certain people have revealed themselves. And I'm basically, referring to like my mother, the lady who raised me. And, I do forgive her because I know that she was very weak. She was only a mind controlled person. But at the same time, the psychological effects of being raised in a family that shows favoritism towards their own, which is understandable, but at the same time, I don't deserve to be the scapegoat for other people's problems. So, I know that there's a lot of conversations that are trending right now, and I can see this in different videos that are getting posted on certain topics, and, I've noticed as I'm going into these past lives and finding out how I lived, for example, I'm going back to being King Tut's wife. Now, I posted her name and a little bit of tidbit information that I extracted from, I think it's called Britannia. Britannia. It's kind of like an encyclopedia. I know we used to have it in like hard form back in the day. Let me see what it is called. Uh, yeah, Britannica. That's what it was. We used to have those in hardback form many years ago. Now they have it online. So I got this information, and I was actually looking for a picture of King Tut's wife, which would be me, right? So I went ahead and snagged, copied and pasted the information on here. And so I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to their names because it's something that I don't really pronounce very well, and I tend to read over it. All I know is I'm content knowing that I was that person. But today, for some reason, something told me to kind of focus in on their names, not just my name, but also King Tut's name. And I had noticed that the word Ankh is a part of my name as well as a part of King Tut's name. So I highlighted those in red. Now, I do know that Ankh symbolize, the key of life, giving life, protection. It's got all kinds of symbolism. And I do understand, that this whole cloning process was done as a collaboration of alien intelligence as well as a combination of people who were of the white race, which makes me think that perhaps maybe they modified because history has been distorted, and this is just what do you call it, a hypothesis that I'm throwing out. The Ankh could have been modified and made into a cross and became a part of the Christian religion. This is what I'm theorizing, okay? And as I go on and start reading more information, because these are theories, okay? This is a theory, because I do know that I'm looking at this name and I'm looking at the symbolism of the Ankh, and I do know that people like myself were cloned and then tried to be placed within the Christian faith, right? And a lot of the Christian leaders at that time were very obsessed with things like, Egypt. Okay, so there's a possibility that Ankh could have been modified to become the cross that what has been known for Christianity. Now, like I said, I'm starting to see just how much timelines have been skewed when it comes to history and what we're reading about and all this other stuff. When I do like the basic math as to, when Prince Alamehu was on Earth, which is like, like about 100 something years ago, right? And he died in 1956, right? But when you start doing the math, it's like, okay, well, things just don't add up. Okay, they don't add up. I'm not going to press anymore on this issue, except for, I will be doing like certain readings to try to sort out who is who in this, because I do get the intuitive message that Empress Wubi, who was married to the emperor in Ethiopia, was not my mother. Just like, all other cloning type situations, it's where, you're getting raised by step parents. Okay, just like Jesus must have, I believe, in some sort of symbolic way, that's some sort of story telling us, about this miraculous birth. This is what I'm believing now. Coming up with. So yeah, I see a tie-in of the Ankh symbol, as well as seeing that into both my name as well as my husband's name at that time. I was thinking, growing up as Maria Gordon, I think most people know that I have always had an aversion to politics. I intuitively had an aversion to politics, and I think this is because something relating to my past life. Something turned me off of politics. Something turned me off of, and I just always felt it. And I always felt as though I wanted to incorporate that in my religious belief, but I just always wanted to step aside from all of that. I kind of wanted to be distanced from that. I knew what my rights were, and I felt as though that was enough for me, because I honestly never felt any drive to participate in anything that related to the outside world. Why? Because I always felt some sort of injustice, perhaps by a system that maybe I felt disappointed in, maybe in my past life, and so this must have carried over to this life, is what I'm saying. Now, I did talk about, I think a lot of people, when you're the outsider, and I never realized I was the outsider, because based on things like things like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, which protects my rights to believe things, I honestly never thought that I was somebody who was like the enemy. I never looked at myself as the enemy. I just felt like, okay, well, there's religious freedoms in this country, and I'm just bebopping around, minding my own business, staying in my own lane. You know what I mean? And I don't ever recall protesting against anybody who was running for the president or anything like that. I do know, growing up, I would hear just about every single time there was a new president, entering into the office, it was always like this chit chatter about so and so's, this is the Antichrist, this person's this and this, and I used to hear all of this, and you know what? Something in my mind is like, just stay out of it. Stay out of it. You know what I mean? And I just believe that, I'm going to just go ahead and mind my own business. Well, and I think this is one of the reasons why at the time when I was growing up, when it came to the choice of a religion within the Christian denominations, I thought that Jehovah's Witnesses was something that appealed to me at that time. Okay. Now, as I got older, I realized, you know what? I'm an occultist. And this is part of my blood through DNA. And I've always been drawn to the mysterious, the unknown, because it's in my blood. And see, I understand that, a lot of people, I think the goal was to have world domination. This is what a part of the Christian idea is, to convert everybody into worshiping a deity or God that is created or associated with the royal bloodline. Okay, that is in no way of me saying that I disrespect it. It's just the fact that, I understand that it doesn't make sense for me to worship a deity that doesn't look like me, that has historically done everything they could to hurt me, harm me through this religious system. So I myself never chose to be a Christian as an adult. Okay, but I've never, bashed anybody who believed in it or anything like that. It's just it's my right to choose what religion I want to be. Now, I also understand, going back into looking at the history of King Tut's wife, it looks as though, after King Tut died, it was customary within the Egyptian tradition, to be married into family members. Now, this is not an uncommon thing, especially with royal families in general, because they want to keep the wealth and all the resources in that family line. As a woman, I did not feel comfortable with that. I don't feel as though I wanted, anybody or felt comfortable with anyone other than my first husband. And I do believe that my first husband and I were very similar. We were half brother and sister. Okay, so when it came to compatibility as far as how to get along, what we thought, how we agreed, and how we saw things, it seems as though there was harmony between me and my first husband, mainly because of, I guess, our interest in our spirituality. Okay, now I believe that we were the ones who restored the original religion, the original polytheistic path of the Egyptian religion, because at the time, I guess, before that, they were kind of reverting back to something else, and we felt as though we were more comfortable being, having that flexibility as to who we petition in prayer. Okay, now that was a part of our makeup. You know what I mean? We were very engrossed into the Egyptian symbolism, the Egyptian way of life. Okay, now. I must not have enjoyed being in a marriage or having very little say over my marriage or things that were going on to the next marriage partner. I'm assuming that I did not like the situation. And then when I was Prince Alamehu, from the readings that I get, I believe that I married into British royalty somehow. Now, whether that was that's all I know. That it was more of a convenient type of arrangement, because probably they were limiting the rights of me as a black person, and perhaps maybe wanted to have someone lord over me. That is a possibility. Okay. Now, so we all know marriage is not about having the starry eyes and the what do you call it, the fireworks and passion and love and all that. This was some sort of incorporated business arrangement, which I think this is what most marriages, especially in Europe and as well as the United States, were based upon at that time. Now, I do believe that I must have found her extremely attractive, and I must have liked her that way, but it must have been something related more to infatuation, more so than the long lasting, I'm going to endure with you 100% forever and agree with everything you say. It just, I don't know exactly how that marriage went. It seems like there was some good times in it, but it also feels as though there was a lot of backbiting and stuff like that went on in it. Okay, mainly because I think we probably disagreed on things. I probably didn't want to be Christian. I have to do more readings deeply into what was going on between that relationship, but I honestly do not feel as though it has that much of a significance, other than there's a tie-in as to who felt as though they can control me and be a part of my life, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's the only thing that I feel that is relevant to that conversation. Also, so I believe that Louise, that was produced, was a direct offspring of that union. Okay. Um, what else? Now, I don't know if Louise was cloned or what. I have no idea. Okay. But I do know that, things were enforced in a way where people could end up in things like an insane asylum. And eventually that's exactly what ended up happening to me in the 1950s. Okay. Mainly because of me. The cloning system is a system where you're created to be bullied, right? Be bullied. I mean, it's not like I was created to be someone who was like in control of my own work, my own whatever. It was like a setup to be bullied by people that saw me as some sort of rival, which, that was the last thing that was on my mind. Okay, so anyway, what else did I want to say today? So yeah, so I don't believe the marriage was ultimately happy. Now I know that my family said, I grew up and I was told that, Louise's mother died and she was raised by her grandparents. Now, I don't know how all that ties in now, because now that throws things off. Now, when you start really looking at it deeper, it's hard. I know that my dad in the 1970s and 80s was like the equivalent of the kind of buzz noise that was going on about me. You know how, like, I would go into a place, people would have that little weird smile on their face, like, hi, like, oh my God, like, that weird, like, I expected you to be here, I know something about you, this kind of, vibe that was going on. So my dad experienced the same thing, okay? Let me see here. Um, so it has something to do with, my dad being cloned. Everybody knew it, okay? Now, I mentioned in my video, the Soul Travelers, right? Yeah, I remember seeing, like, skits about Tut, stories about Tut, and just like, I know that I've had this celebrity group, that I would say a lot of them disrespected me because of their belief in their death religion, their death cult that they were associated with. Now, I believe that these sort of same taunts could have possibly been directed to my father. And for all I know, and I'm not going to dig that deeply into it, but that Tut song that Steve Martin performed on Saturday Night Live could have very well been some sort of poke at my father. You know what I mean? Who knows? I do know that my father, at that time in 1976 through 1978, I would say he was thriving. He was doing a lot of traveling. He was, really engrossed into his work. Same thing with me. Like, when I was really engrossed in my work at Murray Family Farms, everybody seemed to like me. I was going out after work, doing all these other things. But then there was a pathological sickness that was building up underneath it. So, you know what? That's how it is, okay? So I don't know. You know what I mean? All I know is that I do see a correlation between how my father existed back then and how I existed, and I do understand it has something to do with our tie-in with the Egyptian roots that we have, okay? And then also the fact that, my father was doing everything he can to not really be a part of Christianity. I do know that the years before that, before I went into first grade, we studied with Jehovah's Witnesses. I would say starting from 1974, a little after we moved into the house, because we had a man named Virgil who would come over and do Bible study with my father. Now, I personally think that, your name gets put on a list, because I know that my grandmother, Louise, okay, Louise, who was the mother of James Gordon, formally converted to the Jehovah's Witness faith in the 1960s, which chances are, if you're on that that membership list, they put it on with all your children or whoever. And so I personally think that there's a possibility that that man Virgil, who helped my dad build the extra room in our house, could have been sent. Okay, it wasn't just some, like, oh, coinky dink. It's a coincidence that, this guy came, and then our grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness, and it just so happened that this guy was a Jehovah's Witness, and we just so happened to have Bible study with them. See, I'm starting to understand that there was a systematic process in place, okay? And when I think about it, I'm thinking about my friendship that I had with this girl, Amanda, right? She was sitting, I remember the day that I met her, because, I cherished that friendship. So, of course, I was going to remember every single detail about this person that played a big role in my life when I was younger. Okay? But I remember that first day of school in 8th grade is when I met her. Okay? And you know what? It was like, here's the desk at school. And I remember I'm looking around like, ooh, the desks are filling up. And there was a seat right next to her. And I sat down, and then we started talking, and we started talking instantly. It was like, and it wasn't just because I've never been the kind of person that I'm going to be your friend just because you have the same color as me. We better have something to talk about. Okay? So we started talking, and immediately we started talking about Jehovah. Okay? And so she and I switched phone numbers, and we started talking. Now, who's to say that that person was not sent to me directly from the Watchtower Tract Society? right? Because I will tell you that there's been too many coincidences in my life. Now, I have to say, because I would say that my relationship with Amanda was one that I looked upon as a beautiful relationship. Meaning, we spent so many times together, calling each other, doing stupid, silly stuff. Like, I remember we would walk each other home because I enjoyed her company. So, like, she would walk me home, and it's like, oh, it sucks if you have to walk all the way back home. You know what I do? I'd walk her home. And this whole thing would go back and forth because we would enjoy talking. We would laugh, we would talk, we would be serious, we would be funny. She was a very flexible person, right? Which is sad for me to think that she was just a setup. She was just a part of the ops. You know what I mean? And that's sad. That's very sad, right? So anyway, I see that now, that we could have very well been tracked by this organization for a very long time because they were in the same line of, and it didn't matter, okay? It didn't matter, however, they wanted you to be a member. It could be through the Jehovah's Witness line, it could be through the Mormons. I know that, I believe Roman Catholics are also, I think it's just all Christians in general, okay? That, what do you call it, are into the cloning system. Now, but I would say that, when it comes to my life, all my lives, okay, I've had a problem with people harming me, taking advantage of me. I do feel as though something negative was going on in the marriage of C.B. Berganza, and I know that my marriage with my last husband, I feel as though there was infiltration possibly by the same group of people. So my attitude about marriage or being around anybody is not very good. Okay, that is not for me to. That is not in any way for me saying that marriage should not be taking place. I know that right now there's a trend going on where like men are not talking to women, and it seems like things that I say have some sort of direct result or some sort of vibrational occurrence happens when I say things or do things, and this is something that it concerns me, right? Because I didn't ask to have the spotlight. I didn't ask to have my house under surveillance. I didn't ask to be a part of some sort of political debate. Okay, but unfortunately, because of this program, they threw me into the fire. Okay, meaning so like this is my special issue. What happened with me is I was a clone, and this is the sort of nightmare life that I was given because of the abusive behavior of King George V, as well as Queen Victoria, and them making choices that they wanted to dominate the world to the point of where they wanted to hurt people that were not of their bloodline. Okay, so and that's it. That's it. That's the bare bottom line. You know what I mean? So anyway, no, my situation in life has not been a very pleasant one. I feel as though I've never had a proper family union. There's always been discord in it because of being a clone. Now, like I said, when you're a clone, you're like everybody's secret. You're the person everybody talks about, but you don't know why. You have no idea, right? Yeah, so yeah, they tried to discredit me, saying that I was crazy. I know in this life, okay, but I have never been crazy. Now I would say because I am somebody who has occult leanings, and I'm very true to those occult leanings. Of course, I'm going to do things that's going to break down into symbolism and things like that. You know why? Because that's part of occultism. That's a part of occultism. Just like, the cross for the Christian church, or things like doves, or that little chalice that you see on the Roman Catholic altar. Those are the symbolisms that are possibly and very closely connected to old-time pagan rites. Now, this is who we are. And I'm not saying I'm of European pagan, but this is who I am. I'm very connected to the original form of who I am. It's in my blood. It's in everything. It's in everything. In everything that I do. And I think there's a lot of people who are also very close to. You don't have to be Egyptian to be close to your DNA or the certain traits that naturally spring out of you, because this is what you're made of. Okay? What about it? Now, so anyway, I understand that this is what happened. And apparently my father knew what was going on. with the cloning business and the whole religion thing. And I know that after we went, we studied with Jehovah's Witnesses back in the 70s, we started getting people coming over to our house to invite us to a Baptist church. And my dad didn't go. He didn't go, but he did, allow us to go. It was a little bus that would come by every single Sunday and pick us up, and we'd go to the Baptist church and everything else. So it's right around that time that I'm starting to think, okay, it's right around that time that things started getting very strange, okay? We went to the Baptist church for about a year and a half or maybe 2 years. I don't know. I just remember by the time I was in 3rd grade, I was no longer going to church. I was no longer going to church. And I think it has a lot to do with my mom not wanting to get up and getting me dressed. Because, back then in the days, you had to get dressed for, people dressed up for Sunday school. Okay, people dressed up for Sunday in general. Okay, it wasn't just me being girly. It was, if you looked at the congregation, everybody was wearing their Sunday best. Okay, so that meant that my mom had to get up, organize our clothes, brush our hair, blah 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 blah, make us all like whatever, so that we can be, godly dressed enough for church. So I don't think she wanted to do that because her responsibility was to get us ready for school too. So one more day was giving her 6 days of work. So I personally think it had something to do with maybe laziness or whatever. Okay, so we stopped going. Okay, but my sister Tanya continued to go. Now, what's weird about this church, okay, is it seems like a few years later that church was demolished. Now, I think it's very strange that a church would be demolished. To me, it looks almost like something strange was going on. Okay, something strange was going on with that church, but whatever. I didn't think too much of it. I do know after that church was gone, I think what did they put there? It was close to Jimco. It was either right next to Jimco or they made a Jimco next to it. I don't remember the whole details of that church. Okay, but it was close to Jimco. That's all I remember, on 15th Street West or something like that, or 20th Street West. That's all I remember. Okay, so that was my end of my church days, except for when I was invited to church from my sister Tanya. Now, like I said, Tanya had a lot of mental problems. And I think it's because, people were putting a lot of responsibility on her to convert me, get me right, or whatever. Get me right. The whole thing. Okay, so now I understand what happened in my life. Now I understand what was the pain in my life. Now I understand what killed my father. Now I understand why my life was so dark for all those years. Now I understand, as Maria Gordon, that I didn't deserve what happened to me. I did not deserve what happened to me. Now, what did I want to say here? So when it comes to, I already mentioned the issue about the church. I just don't bring that up to me. I'm not somebody who wants to deal with that. I know it's my right as an American citizen to not be a part of any religion. It's my right. Okay, and that's how I'm going to leave it. Okay, now I did mention, I remember talking about the New Earth idea when I was studying with Jehovah's Witnesses, and a lot of people do believe in the New Earth. Now, I don't know if that New Earth would last forever. My only idea about the New Earth is that, the Earth right now, the way that it's functioning, it's very bad. We can see that all this stuff that people are like literally taking out their frustrations on other people. We have things like targeted individuals. We have people who can't afford food. We have people there's things that go on here that cause a lot of discontentment. And it's the discontentment that makes people do the things that they do. You know what I mean? So my thing is, my thing is that, in order to have a new earth, okay, because like I said, the laws that we have here are written, at least here in the United States. I can't speak for the entire world. And this is just me theorizing stuff, okay? Because, when you start talking about political statements, especially if you are a targeted individual, people think that you're trying to raise a ruckus. I'm not. I'm not trying to raise a ruckus. I'm somebody who got sucked into a ruckus, and I would like to be, just get on with my life. But because I do understand what the new earth was, according to what Jehovah's Witnesses were saying, and I do understand that the world is morally corrupt. So if that's the case, obviously, in order to have a new earth, to have what they call the paradise on earth. That's exactly how Jehovah's Witnesses explained it or visualized it, a paradise on earth, to restore the idea of what Adam and Eve lost, right? The story of Adam and Eve is that they had come to earth as perfect individuals, and they were, they had, what do you call it, disappointed God by being deceived by that serpent, right, in the Garden of Eden, right? And so once Eve took a bite of that apple, from that day forward, they began, this is the idea, okay, that mankind began to die. We became, we grow old and we die. But before then, the original idea was for people to have life on earth continuously, right? So this is probably why they came up with this idea. Spirits want, there have been spirits in the past that you've read in the Bible that wanted to inhabit human bodies. Okay. And I don't know. There's been some weird stories about that, about, the men of the gods of heaven being enticed by the women of earth, impregnating these women and making things and creating things like the Nephilim, these giants and crazy stuff like that. Okay. So there's a lot to this world that, that I always found fascinating. This is one of the reasons why I delved into things like, the Bible and stuff like that. But in order to have a new earth where, people could function and bringing in the clone system. Now, right now, I do believe that clones would have to switch out their bodies, right? And I did make this point in my last video. But, okay, so, like, to me, youth is, I would say up to your 30s, right? So you get to a certain point, or like that character Saint Germain. People said that they always Saint Germain. He was one who was like traveling around Europe. He was seen in Germany, he was seen in Russia, he was seen in England, he was seen here, there, and people have the same accounts of it. And he always looked about the same age. Okay, so same thing with Jehovah's Witnesses, their idea of that. So can you continue your life just growing up from a certain point and then just living your life without the process of being cloned again? And then living eternally, right? It's eternal life. Or with the cloning process need to be continued. You know what I mean? I don't know. All I know is the earth is what it is now. The earth is a chaotic nightmare. The earth is what I believe to be hell. Okay? Because I have never experienced any joy. And the joy that I have experienced had some sort of deception associated with it. Right? Like I used to care about my family. Guess what? They were highly influenced by something demonic. You know what I mean? And then when I think about people like celebrities, it should come as no surprise that these people would be so petty to sit here and poke fun of people who are who are struggling in life. Right? Why would somebody do that? Because they're very much influenced by something that's demonic. Do I cry over it? No, I do not. I'm starting to understand that this earth plane is exactly what it is. It is hell. Okay, so it's a nice idea to bring about the new earth. Okay, we'll see how things go. You know what I mean? I'm like I said, I'm sitting in my house, twiddling my thumbs and just trying to get on with my life. That's it. Okay, I just personally feel as though the system has done nothing for me. You know what I mean? It's done nothing for a lot of people. Really, when I think about it. You know what I mean? It's just been to me nothing but abusive. So we'll see. How that all that works. I had mentioned that the girl that CB married me, suspecting that I was married in my past life to a lady. And maybe it could be this Mrs. Kelly person that showed up in an article that was relating to CB Braganza. I didn't read too deeply into it. And really, when I start looking into this subject, it does burn me out a lot, right? Because part of me deep down inside, even though it's new information, it's almost like, do I have to dredge this up again? You know what I mean? It's just, it's becoming a little too much. Okay, I don't know. I get the feeling that it might have been. And the funny part is like when I first did my reading about my marriage and when I was CB Berganza, the first one, the first video that I did, okay, I was saying that I just kind of like assumed like, okay, this person in the car, because it's not going to tell you your soulmate, your blah blah. I'm assuming because I know that I've been a soul traveler with my soulmate, so I just kept thinking, well, my soulmate must have been my marriage partner, okay. But then I kept thinking, okay, timelines, whatever, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so then who was this person? Okay, and unfortunately, I know that, you know, the way the world works, um, I probably was either forced or led into marrying somebody that was going to be like some sort of helper, because, or what I mean by helper is like, or set up as a helper, because, you know, when you're dealing with people like white races people, they try to make it so that you don't have any rights, so they'll have like a handler over you, you know what I mean? And so I kept thinking, well, chances are this person could have been white, even though back then that was kind of an odd thing. But interracial couples did happen. They did happen. Okay, they just weren't highly publicized. I can't find anything, any articles that confirm this, but this is my intuitive message. Okay, now I know that in the past, like I had this celebrity encounters with, I think maybe celebrity people also targeted my father as well, or I should say important people because of the nature of this program. And then of course I got targeted in this life as Maria Gordon, mainly because we are highly advanced people. My father, I mentioned my father and the things that he could do. Okay, and they know that I too am a pretty smart person, even though they tried to downplay it. Okay, and no, I don't have a 4-year degree, but I think what it did was amaze people, and they use these sort of things to try to keep me out of the workforce, and as well as the idea of having some sort of kingdom spouse, somebody who is supposed to be over me, you know, to try to prevent me from being in the workforce. This whole thing, you know, broke my father's heart. When, you know, when I talk about them breaking my father's heart, meaning like, because my dad really felt sad that he couldn't support his family. Okay, they really liked tearing him down. They enjoyed tearing them down. And when I talk about this issue, it's like I'm saying it to inform people of what it was like to deal with being a targeted individual. But unfortunately, as I'm talking about this, some of these sick individuals, these pathological, some of these people were celebrities and very high up people, these people get off on it. They get off on it, okay, to the point of where they're probably ejaculating in their pants. It makes me sick to think that they would kill somebody in the manner that they did and then come back for a second time. It disgusts me. Also, you know, I did talk about in the past about me talking about my views, because some people felt as though I got these intuitive messages because, you know, I am different. I'm different. I'm ruled on my DNA, and I've been through a lot of stuff. So I believe that I'm a very peaceful person. I'm just trying to get on with my life, okay? And I did mention that I was interested in writing out my, you know, things that that keep me going, okay? And it's my views and the way that I navigate through life, okay? Now, this was going to be a part of my Swan Song Manifesto. I'm going to call it defunct Swan Song Manifesto, but I don't believe the Swan Song Manifesto has to completely just go away. I will continue building the Swan Song Manifesto on my channel here, Maria Gordon's channel. Now, I am not going to be, you know, obviously I'm not allowed to get some sort of monetization for the work that I do. Okay, this is how they choose to treat me. Okay, whatever. But I am going to be talking about my personal point of view, right? Because, and my personal point of view should not be the standard for everybody. There's certain things that I would say, like when I talk about, you know, maybe washing your hair with like a rosebud type scented thing to feel more carefree and that sort of thing. Does that benefit everybody? I think it does, okay? But certain views that I have, because it's based specifically on my life and the odd details that relate to my life, which means that not everybody can live the way that I live. Okay, not everybody had to see and deal with the stuff that I've dealt with. Okay, so therefore it's not my life, my way of life is going to be very individualistic. But I'm going to explain to you my point of view on certain issues based on who I am and based on my principles. Because my principles and my core beliefs are going to be the first video that I'm going to make. At first I kept thinking I'm going to start with creation, okay? So I kept thinking back up. Well, the main point is what, based on my point of view, my principles, my core beliefs, this as an adult, this is how I would create. Meaning, like, if I was, had the knowledge that I have now, okay, how would I create offspring? Would I create offspring? Okay, so this is, I'm going to talk about my core values and beliefs first, and then I'm going to go into creation, different, we call it phases of life, okay, and different subject matters, and then I'll just wrap it up, okay? But that's what I choose to do, okay? And like I said, my way of living is not meant to be for everybody, because not everybody is a clone, okay? Although there's a shitload of people who are clones, okay? Not everybody has been chased through religious targeting all their life, okay? Not everybody had to have their heart ripped out over some sort of corrupt program, okay? Or be set up in a, what I'm going to call it, a deceptive life, meaning your family's fake, your friends are fake, everything is a big setup. Okay, my life is very unique because I have a unique situation. That's all. Okay, so when people see that you're different, people get nervous. They're like, oh, what is she trying to do? She's trying to change stuff. I've never tried to change anything. But I am going to sit here and stand up for myself because I don't believe in religious targeting. Okay, and it's inappropriate. And especially when I think about the nature of this formulation of how they try to convert people. No, I am not on board. Sorry. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, okay, so also, I am going to be uploading my videos that I did create for the Swan Song, the now defunct Swan Song Manifesto. I have decided to post these videos in a playlist under occult lessons, and I will be uploading those videos now. Some of these videos that I have do include instructions, okay? So if you would like to make a donation for the instructions, I would greatly appreciate that. And the instructions for those videos will be in the description box, okay? Like some of those tarot lessons and how my interpretations, I'm asking for maybe like $3 for that, if they even allow me to get donations. Right now, I am not working. I am doing what I can to get back on my feet. And, you know, it's not easy for me because psychologically I've been damaged by the same group of people who are basically a death cult. So it's not easy for me to even communicate with other people. Okay, to me, this is so dark and disgusting that it is very difficult for me to, you know, get over that. And it should be understandable. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I think I said enough. And I will be uploading videos today on this particular channel, the Maria Gordon channel. As far as the Swan Song Manifesto channel on my other one, I don't know. I'm not really monitoring it because I understand, you know, people have been messing with my stuff. I'm just going to do most of my work here on Maria Gordon. If you have any questions, I would appreciate your comments and your feedback. I don't even know how to say this, but I do feel bad because, and very unhappy that I got sucked into this. And I will always say that. That's always going to be the way I see it, because no one in their right mind would volunteer to be in a situation like this. So I'm going to wrap up this video, and hopefully you guys will check out some of my other videos I'm going to be uploading that were posted on the Swan Song Manifesto, because I think that I want to share my work, and I want, you know, people to be able to enjoy some of the things that I was able to enjoy in this life. And the things that I have created in my life, I'm going to tell you right now, are the only things I've enjoyed. Okay, the things that I've been able to throw myself into are the only things I enjoy. And this is what I'm telling people, is that life is very hard. We have all kinds of things that we struggle with. And I always think that this is a universal message, one that everybody could relate to and is not exclusive to me. I think we should hang on to the things that we care about, the things that make us happy, the things that make us smile, because there's very little to smile about in this world. I'm going to wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video sometime later. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, I want to thank you for taking the time out to watch my video. If you want to see more videos in the future, make sure you like my videos and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my new content. Thank you so much again for watching.